All right, we got some massive fight news coming out. Dana White just went live, let us know pretty much what the whole card is for UFC International Fight Week. It's the UFC 317 happening in Vegas. We also got the main event announced for UFC, I believe it's in Chicago, 319. It's going to be Chimaev versus DDP. Going to talk about those fights, break them down. I can also talk about the other one, Whitaker and Ranier de Ridder, if I remember it at the end of the video. But things are shaping up pretty good. The fights are pretty damn good. So let's just start with the belt list here for International Fight Week. We're getting Charles versus Ilia. We knew we're getting Charles versus Ilia. I'm also going to talk about Islam versus JDM too, because there was some news that Dana announced that I'll talk about in a minute. Ilia versus Charles. I hate that we're not getting an Ilia versus Islam fight. And you know what? This makes sense to talk about too at the same time. Islam Makhachev has vacated. He has vacated the title. That, to me, seems like he's going up to welterweight to stay at welterweight. If he wins, I don't think there's a chance he comes down. I think the only way he comes back down is if JDM beats him. Now, we're going to get Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena. That is yet to be announced. It will happen, but we don't know what the date is. Now, DDP versus Khamzat Chimaev is going to be headlining in Chicago on UFC 319. That's on August. The next pay-per-view will be in September. I believe they're going to make a Perth, Australia pay-per-view and have Jack Della on the card. I think it's going to be Jack Della, Islam Makhachev at UFC 320 in Perth, maybe with a Volkan Movsar-Evloev co-main. That could be a sick card. You'd have a good press conference because you have Volkan Islam, who've already fought each other twice. Really once. The second time, come on guys, it doesn't count. And then you have JDM up there. You're going to have Craig Jones in the crowd. You're going to have Khabib. And then they're going to have whoever else is on the card. The Aussie press conferences are usually pretty entertaining. I know it's a lot of Strickland on there, and that's why it gets to be pretty fun, but Islam Makhachev vacating the title, that is huge news. Going up to fight Jack Della Maddalena, probably not going back down to 155 unless he loses. So everyone should be rooting for Jack Della Maddalena because we want to see Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. Not only am I rooting for Jack Della Maddalena, and I don't want this to come off as hate for Islam Makhachev because I like Islam Makhachev a lot. I think he's very entertaining. I think he's very good. I think he's the number 4 fighter all time in my honest opinion. I'm going to say I think JDM wins. I do. When I look at this matchup, I understand that Islam Makhachev is a better grappler, wrestler, and just overall, yes, grappler overall, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, sambo, all of it. He's better than Bilal in that area, 100%. I don't know about his boxing offense. I don't think it's as good. I actually think Bilal's boxing offense is better, but Islam's kicks are much better. Islam's defensive boxing and defensive striking is much better. So I do understand that Ilia can grapple better and will have a better chance of getting a takedown and maybe holding it there. But Islam is not as big as Bilal. JDM's pretty big. I don't think Islam's going to be able to out-physicality Jack Della Maddalena, keeping him down the whole time. I think that JDM will have moments where he's able to scramble out. Now, I understand the finishability of Islam Makhachev is legit. He could absolutely get an arm triangle here. He could sneak a Darce choke with Jack Della Maddalena the way he rolls around trying to get up. But here's what I'm thinking. We saw what Jack Della Maddalena did against Bilal, the switching stances, teep kicks, doing the things to neglect shooting, to make sure his opponent doesn't shoot takedowns like that. I can see a world in which Islam gets stuck on the feet a little bit too long, and I don't think he can take the shots that Bilal took. Bilal is a hell of a chin. A hell of a chin. We've seen it in multiple fights now. He was taking the Leon head kick that Usman couldn't take. He took the beating from Jack Della Maddalena. I don't know that Islam has the chin to take all that. I also don't think Islam has the cardio. Has he gone 5? Yes, he's gotten into the 5th round against Dustin Poirier, but he's shown being tired in that 5th round. Very, very tired. He showed being tired in the 5th round of the Volkanovski fight. He hasn't really made it that far. Like, round 1 against Moicano, round 2 against Charles, round 1 against Volk the next time. He hasn't really been taken into deep waters more than twice. When he does, he looks physically fatigued. I think JDM's got the cardio advantage here, and I can see JDM getting a late TKO. I can see him getting a round 3, round 4 TKO, and the way JDM goes to the body, I only think it's going to be harder for Islam Makhachev to catch his breath throughout that whole thing. So Islam Makhachev vacates the title. We're going to see him versus Jack Della Maddalena. I say do it in Perth. This is a massive, massive fight. This is going to be one of the most highly anticipated fights of the year. We wanted Ilia versus JDM. I'm sorry, Ilia versus Islam. We're not getting it, at least yet. We're going to get Islam versus JDM, which is a highly anticipated fight. We're getting DDP versus Khamzat, which I'll talk about in a bit. Highly anticipated fight. We're still just waiting on Jones versus Aspinall, which if that comes through for November, we get all the fights that we wanted, which would be huge if the UFC can save that. Except we didn't get Ilia versus Islam. But I'm telling you right now, vacating the title, I think the UFC is making fighters do that to say, listen, we're not doing any of this bullshit, interim titles on the line, blah, 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 blah. I think Islam can go up. If he wins, I don't see him wanting to cut the weight and come back down. Now, if he goes up and gets starched by Jack Della Maddalena, I can see him either retiring or waiting a year, letting Ilia kind of build that legacy at 155, properly getting back down to 155, and immediately fighting for a title once he's ready to go. That's when I can see it happening. The way that Islam, if we get Ilia versus Islam, it happens in two ways. Islam loses to JDM and goes down again to fight Ilia, if Ilia beats Charles, which I feel very confidently that he will. Or Ilia just goes savage mode, gets 2-3 wins at lightweight, and then goes, I want Islam Makhachev, and goes up to fight Islam Makhachev. I think Ilia versus Islam is a fight that we all want to see, but we're in a precarious situation of seeing it happen now. I think Islam Makhachev needs to lose in order to get that fight at this point. And I think he's going to lose to JDM. And here's what's crazy. I think JDM's going to chin him. And then to cut that weight and go back down to fight another power puncher like Ilia Topuria, he might get chinned twice in a row to end his career. And if he does, I think he retires. I do. And then you're going to have people talk shit about his legacy, which, dude, his legacy's kind of already made. But if he doesn't beat JDM or Ilia, it is more harm than it is good. You know what I mean? So Islam Makhachev, JDM's happening, and Islam vacated his title. I believe the UFC forced his hand, but that's huge. So what does that leave us with at 155? We're on International Fight Week getting a main event for the vacant lightweight title of Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. And I think the UFC did good by Ilia Topuria here, saying, you did us a favor by vacating the featherweight title. We're going to do you a favor. We're making Islam vacate the lightweight title, and you get to fight for the undisputed one against Charles Oliveira. Is Charles the one that deserves this fight? I don't believe so. He lost to Arman, and he beat Chandler. And those are his last two fights. Paddy Pimblett just beat Chandler better than Charles Oliveira did. He's not getting the title fight, but you know what? I get it. Ilia versus Charles Oliveira is a great fucking fight still. It is. Does Charles deserve it? No. I'd rather see Arman fighting for the title, especially if it's vacant or if it's undisputed. But you know what that means? Is if Ilia wins, now we have a litany of contenders saying it's going to be Ilia versus Arman Tsarukyan next, right? You can look at Arman Tsarukyan next if Islam Makhachev's not ready to come back down. Because this fight's going to happen and then it's going to be okay. It's Islam versus Jack's not going to happen for another 2-3 months after that. Okay. So then you have Arman Tsarukyan that you can kind of plug in there. You have Paddy Pimblett who can get one more win you can plug in there. You can have the infinite title glitch of Justin Gaethje, and you just put him in there against Ilia and help Ilia build his legacy by getting a round one fucking KO over Gaethje. You have Bahamondes coming up, where if he beats Rafael Fiziev, all of a sudden he's 2 fights away from a title fight. Like, you have this situation here where a lot of these guys are coming up. We're getting lightweight moving. This is what we wanted to see. So Ilia versus Charles Oliveira is going to be the main event. I think that's a good fight. I do not think Charles is the most deserving guy at this time, but you know what? It's Charles Oliveira, one of the most entertaining lightweights of all time. Had the most entertaining lightweight title run, in my opinion, of all time. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great fight. I think Ilia chins him in 2. I really do. I think Charles, his head's on the line a lot, and I think Charles has a lot of power. I think he throws a lot of teeps and knees up the middle, which can be dangerous for a boxer like Ilia, who likes to move his head a lot, dip, and throw his overhand. But I think Ilia is so defensively sound, I don't think he's getting caught with any of it. I think he's going to be able to wrestle in this fight, and I think he's going to be able to eventually find a knockout in round 2. Because when things aren't going Charles Oliveira's way, he's not a quitter, and I'm not going to say he's a quitter, because he's not that featherweight guy anymore, but when things aren't going his way, you do see him physically get worn out a little bit in the cage, and the guy fighting him is able to really take over, gain their confidence, because they see that in the cage too. And when you're fighting a power puncher like Ilia, and Charles is hittable, I think Ilia is going to knock him out in the second round, man. I'm going to go Ilia Topuria to knock him out in the second round. I think it's destined. I think he's destined to be the lightweight champion. He's going to call out Islam Makhachev after that, and he's probably not going to get it yet. But we may see that in the future. That's the situation that we need. We need Ilia to win, and we need Jack Della Maddalena to win in order to get Ilia versus Islam. But the problem with that is, if Islam loses to JDM, the real hype behind Ilia and Islam dies down significantly, because you go, well, he just got chinned by Maddalena. He's coming back down to 155 to cut weight against another power puncher in Ilia Topuria, who has a ton of hype because now he just knocked out Charles Oliveira. The hype for that starts to go away. The Ilia-Islam fight, in order for it to be the most hype that ever was to happen right now. Or if Islam wins, it's to happen then. But I don't think if Islam wins, he's going to come back down to fight. I really don't. So I'm going to say Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. I'm going Ilia Topuria round 1 KO. Round 2 KO. It's a sick fight. It's a great headliner for International Fight Week, and it kind of helps save the card, because this is going to be one that we go, oh boy, it's happening. Here we go. Here we go. And if you notice a trend, all the most anticipated fights all end up being Ilia Topuria. That's a real superstar, dude. Ilia's going to superstar status after this fight. He's a star right now. He's in my mind is a superstar in Europe. He's going to be a superstar everywhere at the end of this fight. So I'm going to go with Ilia Topuria. Round 2 KO is what I'm seeing. I think he just lands the right hand right down the middle. Starts to really hurt Charles. Charles goes back. Ilia goes into the guard and just ground and pound. KO. Alessandro Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France. We knew this fight was coming. That's something I want to say about this card as well. Is yes, we have 2 title fights, and it's going to be a fun card. It's going to be, the fights are going to deliver. It's going to be a very fun, entertaining card. But it leaves a little to be desired to me, if you want me to be honest. There's a little left to be desired to me. Like, I don't want to see Paulo Costa, Roman Kopylov as the feature fight. That's a prelim headliner for an International Fight Week card to me, if I'm being honest. It is. I think you put Royval and Kopp where it is. The way it should be structured is Ilia versus Charles, Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France, Dariush versus Renato Moicano, Royval versus Kopp. I think you need one more fight on there. Like a Mauricio Rufy on this card was so important to have. Having a big superstar that everyone gets hyped to see on this card would have been so important to have. A Mauricio Rufy, again, Beneil Dariush versus Mauricio Rufy would have been the best matchup you could have done, I think. But you don't end up making it. You fucking force Chandler into another fight, honestly. Like, just force it. You do Mauricio Rufy and tell him, hey, you're getting BSD. BSD, make that turnaround, buddy. Sorry, you suck. I just think you get a Rufy on this card. Like, you got to get someone like that. You get Gene Silva to turn around and make this card. But you know what this means? We might get Mauricio Rufy and Gene Silva same card in Louisiana. I can totally see that happening. But we get 2 title fights, which is great. We get 2 title fights, Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France. I think it's going to be a good fight because the scrambling ability of Kai Kara-France makes this interesting. His hands are very fast. He does have a lot of power for flyweight. And in order to beat Pantoja, you just have to catch him and chin him because you're not subbing him. You're probably not going to outpace him and win a decision. I think Pantoja Kai Kara-France is going to be a great fight. Kai Kara-France definitely has a chance in this with his ability to defensively wrestle and defensively scramble. But I gotta go with Pantoja here, man. He's so good, and maybe he'll finally get the respect he deserves in the pound-for-pound rankings. We're going to talk about that in a video coming out next week, too. We're going to have the rankings updates. There's a lot to talk about in those ranking updates because pound-for-pound needs to be fixed. So we'll get to that next week. There's going to be an off week, so I plan to have a couple specialized videos coming out. But Pantoja, Kai Kara-France, it's a good fight. It's going to be a good fight. It's a world championship fight. And it's one we've been waiting to happen. We've been waiting for the flyweight division to move along a little bit, and we finally get it. The middleweight bout, the feature bout, is Paulo Costa, Roman Kopylov. I don't know how Paulo Costa is finding himself in these positions, but at least he's fighting down. He fought Strickland in his last fight. Super boring fight. Now he gets Kopylov. I think Paulo can win this one, though, honestly. I think Roman Kopylov's hands are okay. He's slick, and he's got some pop and some speed. But I think Paulo Costa's got a hell of a chin, even though I know he got knocked out by Adesanya, which is like, how can you have a chin if you get knocked out by Izzy? But especially with the hands. But it is what it is. Izzy had his best performance like ever. And he's never fought like that since. But I think I don't have an official prediction for this one yet. The kicks are definitely going to be on the side of Roman Kopylov. I just think that Paulo Costa is a hard guy to finish, and I think Paulo Costa can out physical Roman Kopylov in this fight and land the bigger shots. But I think Roman Kopylov can out point fight and land really good low kicks, land good kicks to the body that start to. But then you're going to have Paulo Costa emoting in the cage and shit like that. It's going to be a good fight. I just don't know if it should be the feature fight of this card. This is a prelim headliner to me, if I'm being honest. Even open up the card, like fix up the stuff a little bit here. The fact that Diaz and Tafa is on the main card, it says, dude, that needs to change. That needs to be on the prelims. You cannot disrespect Royval and Kopp like that, dude. Because Royval and Kopp is going to be a banger. Royval likes to go. Kopp likes to go unless he's fighting a grappler. I don't think Royval's going to grapple in this fight. Don't think Kopp's going to grapple in this fight. I think it's just going to be a lot of speed and technical ability. But maybe they're trying to showcase flyweight. The winner gets a title fight after this, most likely. So maybe they're just trying to showcase it for everyone that's not going to buy the pay-per-view. Put it on ESPN for everyone to see. But the problem with that is, like, Kopp's not going to get his post-fight speech if he wins, and he doesn't get to call people, the fucking F word on the mic. You know what I mean? So then you got Hermansson Rodriguez, which is a great fight. Araujo versus Tracy Cortez, like, whatever, eye candy, I guess. Hermansson versus Rodriguez is a sick fight. So that's a really, really good one for the prelims. Diaz versus Tafa should not be on the main card, man. What did Justin Tafa do to, like, get this treatment from the UFC? Lose, go 7-4, get KO'd in 20 seconds by Talison Teixeira? Fuck Justin Tafa, dude. I'm sick of this privilege that the Tafa brothers get. They have no business being on the main card. They're not good. They're not even fun. They just sit there and they plot around and luckily land a big overhand. Like, I get that I'm talking shit here. Like, I get that, and I'm not a fucking professional fighter. But at some point, you got to look at this and go, dude, what does the Tafa brothers have on the UFC? John Jones and the Tafa bros have something on the UFC to be given the treatment that they're getting. There's no world in which Justin Tafa should be on the main card of International Fight Week over Royval and Kopp, over Hermansson and Rodriguez. No way. And Janata Dinez got mauled by fucking Tybura, so, like, what's he doing on the main card too? Two guys coming off losses are on the main card. This is ridiculous. One got mauled by Tybura, which is respectable, right? Tybura is just official plotster of the heavyweight. Like, he's never gonna... he's a staple of the heavyweight division. And then Justin Tafa lost to a guy debuting in the UFC. I get it's Talison Teixeira, but it's a 25-year-old debuting in the UFC, and he lost, got destroyed. Believe he lost the fight before that to Carl Williams, who got cut because of how terrible he is and how boring he is. But no, we get Tafa. We need Tafa on the main card. He knocked out the great Austin Lane after almost losing, but he got eye poked. Stupid, dude. And then lastly, I want to talk about Dariush and Moicano. They rebooked this fight. I'm assuming the loser's going to take on a Mauricio Rufy or one of the up-and-coming guys, and the winner's going to really look at... The winner's probably going to be looking at one of those Dan Hooker matchups and stuff. I'm going to go with Moicano. I think he can outstrike Beneil Dariush here. I think he can outscramble Beneil Dariush as well. So I don't think Beneil's going to be able to offensively grapple against Moicano like Islam. Like, Islam kind of struggled at moments. I don't want to say he struggled in the grappling because he didn't, but, like, Moicano just rushed back to his feet and got caught in a choke. It's also Islam Makhachev. Like, Beneil Dariush isn't that anymore. Like, he's coming off a couple losses in a row. And I think Renato Moicano's Muay Thai is so much better. I think he can be composed, land the jab, blast low kicks, blast high kicks, scramble, win this fight up against the cage as well, land good elbows. So I'm going to go with Moicano. I'll never go against Moicano. Love Renato Moicano, but... yeah, this is a great fight. It should be the feature fight. The way this should be is Topuria versus Charles, main event. Co-main, obviously, Pantoja versus France. Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano, feature fight, because people are going to be hyped once they start talking shit. Royval versus Kopp, co-main, fourth fight, and then Costa versus Kopylov main card opener. Maybe they're trying to keep Manel Kopp. If we don't get Manel Kopp at the press conference, dude, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Because him and Kai Kara France at the press conference together would be insane. We need to see it. Do not rob us of a Manel Kopp press conference, dude. That's what I just realized. They're the featured prelim. They're not going to be on the press conference. That's what's going to piss me off. We need Manel Kape and Brandon Royval at the press conference. The same one as Kai Kara France. To be able to talk shit to Pantoja, too. To be like, I'm the next one. I'm the next. It builds the flyweight division. You want hype behind the flyweight division. Why are you holding it down by keeping them off the press conference? I'm going to go nuts if they're not in the press conference, dude. Oh, anyway. Another fight that got announced. Du Plessis versus Chimaev. We all knew this was coming. We all wanted this to happen. Just going to talk about it briefly. Dude, it's hard for me to pick against Du Plessis, man. It really is. Like, everything is that you've seen about Khamzat Chimaev's, like, he's destined to be champion, doesn't matter who it is. And then Du Plessis goes out there and wins literally every single fight in the most loony bin way possible. So I'm going to go DDP by fucking tornado elbows in round 3. Here's the thing with Chimaev. He's so good. We all know his problem is the cardio. Where he is able to dominate opponents is physically. It's in the grappling, yes, but he's very physically strong. He's stronger than all his opponents. He's bigger, and he just mogs them in there. I don't know that he can out-physical Dricus Du Plessis, because Dricus Du Plessis has that kind of strength, dude. He has that fucking Lenny from Of Mice and Men type strength, if you know what I mean. And he's a very hard guy to take down and keep down. I just don't think that Chimaev's going to be... I think Chimaev's going to get him down. And I think he's going to have moments where he's able to keep him there. But I think DDP's just going to stupid tard his way back up. And end up breaking Chimaev. I think Chimaev breaks in a round and a half. I think he goes for it so hard against Du Plessis early, doesn't get it. And Du Plessis is just able to out-cardio him, walk him down, land kicks, land punches, start getting takedowns of his own. The crowd's going crazy. And ends up beating Chimaev. Oh, dude, the most DDP thing in the world to do in this is to go in there, survive the first round, and just then ragdoll Khamzat Chimaev in rounds 2 and 3 and get a rear naked choke or some shit. That's the most DDP thing ever, is to win this fight by submission in like round 2 or 3 after mogging Chimaev physically. And I can see it happening. That's what's crazy, is I can see this happening. This is a great fight, though. One of the most anticipated fights of the year. We're finally getting it. We knew we were going to get it. I think DDP just needed a little bit more time to be healthy, so I love it. DDP versus Khamzat Chimaev, sick fight, highly anticipated. We can also talk about Whittaker versus DeRitter, which got made, which no easy fights for Robert Whittaker, man. I think I'm going to lean Whittaker in that fight, though. I know RDR is going to be more physical than Whittaker, and that's where Whittaker tends to lose, but I think that Whittaker can scramble good enough to stay up. I don't think RDR's grappling's on the level of Chimaev. I don't think he's going to be able to kind of break the jaw of Whittaker like Chimaev did. So I just think that he's going to have a harder time getting it to the ground. If it's on the feet, he's going to have these stupid like looping punches coming in, and Whittaker's just going to land a 1-2 and get out. Land a 2 and get out. Low kick. And he's going to start picking away and win a decision against RDR, I can see happening. So Du Plessis versus Chimaev, though, sick fight. Been waiting for this one to happen. I'm so excited for it. This is a great one. It's a great one. Dana, they did a great job. The UFC cooked. To highlight, though, Du Plessis versus Chimaev, UFC 319, August 16th in Chicago, the main event, one of the most anticipated fights of the year. We'll probably get some, actually, we're not going to get a women's co-main because Wei Li is probably fighting Valentina, so flyweight and strawweight are going to be all booked up there. You're not getting bantamweight because that's happening 2 pay-per-views before. We might end up getting, and it's not going to be a Marab fight. We could see Volk on this, but if they go to Perth, they're going to save Volk for that JDM Islam card. And there's no other lighter weight class. So it's going to be this, and then maybe a sick co-main, like a contenders matchup or something. Like an Arman versus Gaethje, or a Patty versus Gaethje would be sick to have on this. But to highlight Du Plessis Chimaev, sick, one of the most anticipated fights of the year we're getting. Islam Makhachev vacating to fight Jack Della Maddalena. If he wins, I don't think there's a world in which he comes back down to lightweight. If he loses, I think that's the only way he can come back down to lightweight and then get Ilia Topuria. So we're not getting Ilia versus Islam. That one's starting to die out, but we're getting Ilia versus Charles. We're getting Pantoja Kai Kara France. We're getting Moicano Dariush. It's a good card. Do I think it could be better? Yes, but it is a really good card. And Dana, please, I'm begging you, man. I'm begging you. Please put Manel Kape and Brandon Royval on the main card so we can see them at the press conference. We need them at the press conference. If they're not there, I'm going to lose my mind. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. They cooked. I don't want to bitch too much about the Manel Cop not being in the press conference thing because I have high hope. I'm hoping the UFC does the right thing, which they never do, but I have high hopes. But please, Dana, don't screw this one up.